Hey everyone, imagine this. One moment you're going about your day, and the next, chaos crashes in with roaring longships and flashing steel. Viking raids weren't just stories. They were sudden, ruthless events that tested every ounce of courage and luck. Tonight, we're peeling back the myth to see exactly why surviving a Viking raid was a challenge most people just didn't beat. Before we dive in, take a quick second to like the video, subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is. Now set the mood, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's help you sleep. Imagine yourself waking at dawn in a small coastal village, nestled between the soft rise of gentle hills and the endless expanse of sea. The air is cool and thick with the scent of damp earth, a quiet perfume carried by the morning breeze. Around you, the muted sounds of daily life begin to stir, the low murmur of voices exchanged between neighbors, the faint creak of wooden carts being readied for the day, and the distant clucking of chickens moving through straw-covered yards. The world feels slow and deliberate here, as if time itself is measured by the rhythm of nature's steady pulse. The houses are modest low timber frames filled with wattle and daub, their thatched roofs darkened by years of weather. Smoke rises lazily from chimneys, curling upward and blending with the soft pastel hues of the morning sky. You can almost feel the roughness of the woven cloth your ancestors fashioned by hand, and the sturdy texture of worn leather boots resting beside the hearth. The village is surrounded by fields, where the first tendrils of green are pushing through the freshly tilled soil. It's a land that demands patience and care, where every seed sown carries the hope of future sustenance. Nearby, the sound of water gently lapping at the shoreline creates a quiet, soothing rhythm. The sea is a constant companion, its breath mingling with the scent of salt and seaweed. Fishing boats, small and sturdy, lie moored against the wooden piers, their sails furled and resting after a night spent on the water. The fishermen, already awake, prepare their nets and sharpen their hooks, their movements practiced and calm. There is an unspoken understanding between the villagers and the sea, a fragile balance held in place by respect and routine. Life here follows a measured cadence, where each day brings a series of tasks to be performed with quiet diligence. Women grind grain with steady hands, their arms moving in slow, circular motions that seem to echo the earth's own turning. Children tend to animals, their laughter light and scattered like leaves in the breeze. Men set about repairing fences or preparing tools for the fields. The village is alive with a gentle hum, a constant but unobtrusive melody of human activity, harmonizing with the natural world. Yet beneath this calm surface lies a subtle tension, as faint and elusive as the morning mist that clings to the grass. The horizon over the sea, vast and ever-changing, holds mysteries beyond reach. Sometimes, far off in the distance, dark shapes glide just above the water's surface, indistinct and fleeting. Birds fall silent for a moment, sensing something unfamiliar. The villagers carry on, but an instinctual unease lingers, an ancient whisper warning of forces beyond their control. Communication is slow here, reliant on messengers and word of mouth, so the spread of news is measured and often delayed. Stories of strange travelers, distant conflicts, and changes in faraway lands trickle in like a gentle stream, barely disturbing the village's steady pace. For many, the outside world feels remote, almost like a dream seen through a veil. Their days revolve around the tangible, the warmth of the hearth, the taste of freshly baked bread, the feel of cool water on sun-warmed skin. In this fragile peace, life is both simple and profound. Every moment is shaped by the land and the seasons, by the hands that tend it, and the shared hope for tomorrow. Imagine yourself here, in this quiet place where time flows gently, where the air holds the promise of growth and the soft, steady heartbeat of a community rooted in its surroundings. As the morning deepens, so too does the awareness that this tranquility is not guaranteed. The horizon so familiar may soon bring change. The rhythm of the village's life is about to meet an ancient force, one that will challenge the calm and test the limits of survival. But for now, in this first light, all remains still, held in balance by the delicate harmony of a world untouched by sudden upheaval. Imagine yourself now far from that quiet village, on the edge of a fjord where towering cliffs cradle a narrow inlet. The early morning light filters softly through mist, casting a silver glow over the calm waters. Here, long, slender boats rest gently against wooden docks, their smooth hulls carved from single trunks of sturdy oak. These are the longboats of the Vikings, a people often remembered for their raids, yet whose lives were woven from many threads, not just conflict. The air here carries a subtle blend of scents, the crisp saltiness of the sea mingled with the faint smokiness of nearby hearth fires. The rhythm of life moves with the tides and seasons, governed by cycles older than memory. Imagine the steady beat of oars dipping into water, the whispered splash as boats glide silently through the morning fog. It's a world where patience and skill shape every voyage, whether for trade, exploration, or the rare and dreaded attack. Vikings were not solely warriors. They were also farmers who coaxed crops from challenging soil, tending to fields of barley and rye beneath open skies. Their hands, roughened by work, knew the texture of plowed earth, the weight of woven baskets filled with harvest. They were skilled craftsmen, shaping wood and metal into tools, jewelry, and household items. Imagine the soft scrape of a knife, carving intricate patterns into a piece of bone, or the steady tapping of a hammer on iron, forging a blade or a simple nail. Their homes were simple but sturdy, built to withstand cold winds and rain. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of burning peat, and the earthy aroma of drying herbs hung from rafters. Around the hearth, stories were told, songs were sung, and plans were quietly made. The rhythm of their days echoed the land's steady pulse, a constant preparation for the next journey, the next season, the next challenge. Trade was an essential part of Viking life, linking distant shores in an exchange of goods, ideas, and culture. Imagine marketplaces filled with the low hum of barter, the smooth feel of crafted goods passing from hand to hand. Fine textiles from distant lands, amber beads gleaming softly in the muted light, and the rough grain of furs were all woven into the fabric of their lives. This world was not isolated, but connected, a web of relationships stretching far beyond the horizon. Yet the image of the Viking is often narrowed to that of the raider, swift, fierce, and unpredictable. Their longboats could silently appear like shadows on the water, striking quickly and vanishing before the alarm could be raised. Their reputation for sudden raids on coastal settlements grew from this agility and knowledge of the sea. Imagine the sharp contrast between the calm of everyday life and the sudden, calculated intrusion of these swift visitors. But even this darker aspect was bound by rules and customs. The Vikings were guided by a code, shaped by honor, kinship, and survival. Their raids were strategic endeavors, not random acts of violence. They sought wealth and resources, often targeting monasteries and villages that offered little defense. Their actions disrupted lives, certainly, but they were also part of a broader rhythm, a cycle of challenge and adaptation, threat and response. Imagine yourself watching these boats push away from the shore, their sails catching the breeze, the rhythmic chant of the rowers barely audible over the gentle splash of water. The horizon beckons with promise and peril, a line between worlds where survival depends on skill, timing, and an unyielding connection to the environment. In this way, the Vikings were more than just raiders. They were a people deeply connected to their surroundings, whose lives were shaped by the same steady, enduring rhythms as those they encountered. Understanding this complexity helps us see beyond the fearsome image and appreciate the delicate balance of life during this time. As their boats glide forward, the calm before the storm lingers only briefly. The next chapters will explore what it meant to face such a force and why survival was never guaranteed. Imagine yourself standing quietly on a gentle rise overlooking the sea. The sky is painted in soft hues of pale blue and pink, the early morning light casting a delicate glow over the water's surface. The air carries a cool freshness, mingled with the distant, faint scent of salt and seaweed. Around you, the village begins its slow awakening, the soft rustle of leaves in a light breeze, the distant crowing of a rooster, the low murmur of voices beginning their day. Yet, as you gaze toward the horizon, something subtle begins to shift. Far out where the sea meets sky, dark shapes appear, small, swift movements breaking the smooth rhythm of the water. They are long and narrow, gliding steadily across the gentle waves. The sound is almost imperceptible, a quiet whisper beneath the usual song of gulls and waves. Imagine the water parting smoothly, the faint splash of oars dipping in and out, steady and measured. Birds that were once chirping with ease fall silent, their watchful eyes turned toward the strange shapes. A hush settles over the shore, as if nature itself senses an approaching change. The salty air seems to hold its breath. The rhythm of life, so familiar and constant, pauses for a moment, caught in the quiet tension between calm and alert. Within the village, small signs ripple through the daily routine. The blacksmith's hammer slows as a whispered warning passes through the crowd. A mother pulls her child a little closer, the soft fabric of her cloak brushing against warm skin. Doors are secured with more care, the coarse texture of wooden latches grasped firmly by steady hands. The steady beat of life becomes tempered with watchfulness, the invisible threads of unease weaving gently into the fabric of the day. Imagine the feel of cool stone beneath your fingertips as you lean against a wall, the surface worn smooth by years of use. The scent of damp moss clings to the village paths, a reminder of the ever-present earth beneath feet that must soon decide whether to flee or stand firm. The air is thick with the subtle tension of anticipation, a moment stretched between the comfort of routine and the uncertainty of what comes next. The longboats, moving silently closer, cast elongated shadows on the water. Their sails remain furled, relying on the strength of the rowers who move in unison. The steady rhythm of their strokes is almost hypnotic, a metronome counting down toward inevitable contact. Imagine the soft creak of wooden oars dipping rhythmically, the faint lapping of waves against hulls carved with care and tradition. Villagers exchange glances, their faces calm but lined with worry. There is no shouting, no frantic movement, only the quiet gathering of resolve. Some reach for simple weapon spears with worn shafts, sharpened sticks, or sturdy farming tools. The texture of rough wood and cold metal in their hands offers a small measure of reassurance. Others clutch small bundles of belongings, the soft rustle of fabric a whispered promise of escape. This approach is a slow unfolding, a measured prelude to change. The horizon that once held only promise now carries the weight of an ancient threat. The village's steady rhythm, its pulse of daily life, is poised on the edge of disruption. And yet, within this stillness, there is a strange kind of beauty. The sea reflects the soft light, the shapes of longboats are like shadows in a dream, and the air is alive with the quiet energy of lives preparing for what lies ahead. It is a moment suspended in time, a delicate balance between peace and upheaval. As the longboats draw nearer, the next chapter awaits, the first contact, where the calm breaks and the reality of survival begins. Imagine yourself standing just inside the edge of the village, the soft earth beneath your feet still cool from the morning's dew. The gentle rustling of leaves and the distant chatter of neighbors have been replaced by an unfamiliar, sound-arising murmur that ripples through the air like a shifting tide. It is neither sudden nor violent, but steady, the subtle change in the atmosphere that tells you something has arrived. At first, it might be the distant clatter of wooden shields against each other, a dull tapping that feels strangely out of place among the usual village noises. The scent of smoke thin and sharp wafts faintly on the breeze. mingling with the ever-present tang of salt from the nearby sea. Your fingers brush against rough bark of a nearby tree as you lean forward, eyes scanning the horizon where longboats press closer to the shore. Within moments, the calm morning begins to unravel. A soft chorus of voices rises, not loud but purposeful, weaving through the village like a slow current. You hear footsteps quick, deliberate against packed earth and stone. Imagine the texture of weathered wood as doors are hurriedly barred, the coarse fibers of woven fabric rustling as cloaks are drawn tight. Faces in the village shift from casual to tense. Some pause in mid-step, eyes wide with a quiet alarm, lips pressed into thin lines. Others move swiftly, but with careful precision, gathering simple belongings or gripping rough-hewn weapons crafted more for everyday use than battle. The cold metal of a spearhead feels foreign in hands, accustomed to tools of harvest and craft. This moment is not filled with chaos, but with a strange, suspended stillness, an intense awareness threading through the village's pulse. Imagine the weight of uncertainty pressing gently but firmly on every shoulder, the silent exchange of unspoken thoughts shared in brief glances. Time seems to slow, the usual cadence of life temporarily held in abeyance. The sound of oars striking water grows louder, blending with the rhythm of hurried footsteps on shore. The longboats have come ashore, their dark hulls resting quietly against the beach. The sharp edges of shields catch the soft sunlight, glinting briefly like small beacons of an unfamiliar world. You can almost hear the breath caught in chests, the subtle intake of air before the next movement. For those in the village, the realization settles like a soft but unyielding weight. Strangers have arrived. Their presence shifts the landscape from familiar to uncertain, from safe to precarious. The moment carries no promise of what is to come, only the undeniable truth that life, as it was, is about to change. Imagine the cool touch of a hand gripping yours, the grounding texture of rough wool as someone pulls a child closer. There is no outcry, no frantic rush, only the quiet, deliberate actions of people trying to make sense of a sudden shift in their world. The village breathes collectively, a single living thing responding to an age-old warning. This first contact is not a storm breaking suddenly, but a slow, measured unfolding, a delicate threshold between peace and upheaval. And in this fragile moment, survival begins to hinge on more than strength or courage alone. It depends on the quiet decisions made in these first seconds, on the instincts honed by generations living with uncertainty. As the village stands poised between past and future, the story moves forward to the raiders' methods, the careful and calculated actions that follow. But for now, in this moment of realization, the rhythm of life is interrupted, and the fragile thread of safety is pulled taut. Imagine yourself now stepping quietly back to the shoreline, where the longboats rest like dark shapes against the morning light. The sea is calm, the water gently rippling with soft whispers of movement. The rhythmic splash of oars has fallen silent, replaced by a different kind of sound, the measured footsteps of those who have stepped ashore. Each footfall is deliberate, the soft crunch of sand and scattered pebbles, marking the steady advance of a group, moving with practiced precision. The Viking raiders did not rely on chaos or loud alarm to achieve their aims. Instead, their approach was shaped by patience, careful observation, and a deep understanding of their environment. Imagine the cool weight of a shield resting against an arm, the smooth grain of a wooden spear shaft held with quiet strength. Their movements were coordinated, like the slow flow of a stream, carving its path through the landscape. Before the sudden rush often imagined, there was a time of watchfulness, a period where the raiders assessed their surroundings with a quiet, penetrating gaze. They sought the easiest entry points, places where defenses were weakest or where surprise was most assured. Imagine the rustle of grass as scouts slipped through the underbrush, their eyes scanning for movement, their breath steady and controlled. The natural world offered both cover and clues in this moment. A fallen branch, A disturbed patch of earth, the faintest change in bird song. When the time came, the raiders struck swiftly, but with careful intent. Their goal was not prolonged conflict, but a brief and efficient encounter designed to gather valuables and resources. Imagine the faint ringing of metal tools and weapons clinking softly as treasures were gathered and goods secured. The tactile sense of fine cloth folded gently, the smooth coolness of silver coins slipping into pouches. Their actions were precise, deliberate, and practiced, carried out with a rhythm honed by countless journeys. The raiders knew the landscape intimately, the winding paths, the hidden coves, and the timing of tides. Their longboats could be carried across short stretches of land to avoid detection, and their crews moved as a single disciplined unit. The smell of salt and wood smoke mingled as fires were lit briefly to signal success or call reinforcements. Yet these flames were kept low and contained, carefully managed to avoid attracting unwanted attention. In contrast to the quiet efficiency of the attackers, the villagers faced a sudden upheaval, a disruption that fractured their steady lives. Imagine the texture of rough stone walls, once a symbol of shelter, now offering uncertain protection. The familiar sounds of home, the laughter of children, the steady hammering of craft, were replaced by the subdued murmur of fear and urgency. Despite the disruption, the raiders' method was not merely destructive. It was a calculated exchange, one rooted in survival, opportunity, and the relentless pursuit of resources in a world where fortune was never assured. Their raids were part of a larger pattern, a continuous rhythm of movement, challenge, and adaptation. Imagine yourself watching this unfold from a distance, the soft glow of the morning light casting long shadows across the beach. The slow, purposeful actions of the raiders contrast with the startled movements of those they have surprised. The tension between these worlds, the steady life of the village and the swift, efficient incursion, defines this moment. As the raiders gather what they came for, the village's pulse is thrown off balance. The rhythm of daily life has been interrupted, and the consequences of this encounter will ripple through days and seasons to come. In the next chapter, we will explore what life looked like for those caught in the aftermath, the choices and struggles that shaped their survival. Imagine yourself standing among the quiet remnants of a village after the raiders have departed. The air hangs heavy, soft with the scent of smoldering peat, mingled with faint traces of smoke that curl lazily upward, dissipating into the pale blue sky. The usual sounds of life, the chirping of birds, the gentle murmur of wind through leaves, return slowly, as if cautiously reclaiming their place in the world. The earth beneath your feet feels uneven, scattered with the soft crunch of broken twigs and scattered straw. The texture of worn wooden beams, once the sturdy frame of a home, now rough and splintered, reminds you of the sudden disruption that has passed. Imagine the cool touch of smooth stones beneath your fingers, lining pathways now quieter than before. Life after a raid was a constant negotiation between loss and resilience. Villagers moved carefully through their changed landscape, their footsteps light but deliberate. You might see hands gathering the scattered remnants of everyday objects, fragments of pottery, bent nails, scraps of cloth, each piece carrying a story of interrupted routines and fragile hopes. The rhythm of life, though unsettled, slowly begins to reassert itself. People tend to their fields with renewed determination, feeling the coarse texture of soil slipping between fingers as they prepare for the next planting season. The scent of fresh earth and growing crops offers a quiet promise, a reminder that growth follows hardship. Community bonds deepen in this time, woven through shared efforts to rebuild and protect. Imagine the soft murmur of voices coming together in planning and support, the steady beat of hammers working to mend broken doors and patch thatched roofs. The warmth of hearth fires returns, casting gentle shadows on faces lined with fatigue, but marked by quiet strength. Yet the shadows of the raid linger, subtle but persistent. Stories pass in whispered tones of missing neighbors, of treasures lost, of dangers narrowly avoided. These tales become part of the village's fabric, a constant thread in the tapestry of memory. The texture of worn leather and faded cloth reminds one of journeys taken and loved ones left behind. The threat of future raids shapes daily choices, infusing even the smallest acts with cautious deliberation. Imagine the careful sharpening of tools, the steady weaving of protective charms, the measured steps taken along familiar paths. The village, while scarred, embodies a quiet resilience, adapting its rhythm to the unpredictable beat of history. In this balance between vulnerability and endurance, life continues rooted in the earth, shaped by the seasons and carried forward by the steady hands of those who remain. The soft glow of evening light falls across fields and homes, a gentle closing of day that carries the promise of rest, reflection, and the hope of renewal. As night approaches, the village settles into a fragile calm, the past and future entwined in a delicate dance. In the next chapter, we will explore the challenges of survival beyond the raid, the enduring struggles that defined the era. Imagine yourself in the quiet hours of dawn, as soft light spills gently over fields and forests. The air is cool and carries the faint fragrance of damp earth and growing grasses. Around you, the village begins to stir, not with urgency, but with the steady, unhurried rhythm of daily life. Each movement is deliberate, measured like a turning of seasons that shape the land itself. Life after a raid was not simply about recovery. It was a constant and patient negotiation with the environment, the seasons, and the limitations imposed by the world. A texture of worn leather gloves brushing against soil, the steady sound of wooden tools striking stone or wood, these were the sounds that marked the rhythm of survival. Imagine the hands of a farmer, roughened and steady, working the earth with care. The coarse grains of soil sift through fingers as seeds are pressed gently into the ground. The scent of fresh grass mingles with the faint smoke from morning fires, a quiet backdrop to the labor that shapes the coming months. Food was never taken for granted. Harvests were modest and vulnerable to weather, pests, and disease. The village depended on the delicate balance of nature, knowing that each season brought both promise and uncertainty. Imagine the careful gathering of roots and berries, the soft rustle of leaves underfoot as people ventured into nearby woods, seeking sustenance beyond the fields. Water, too, was a precious resource. The cool touch of a wooden cup lifted to parched lips, the gentle murmur of a nearby stream flowing over smooth stones. These simple elements were vital threads in the fabric of daily life. Wells and springs were tended with care, their surroundings kept clean to protect against illness that could easily unsettle a fragile community. The sound of voices, low and steady, filled the spaces between work and rest. Stories and songs passed from one generation to the next, weaving a tapestry of memory and identity. The warm glow of the hearth invited moments of quiet reflection, where the texture of hand-woven cloth and the scent of burning peat created a comforting cocoon against the chill of evening. Yet survival was not without its shadows. The threat of illness lingered quietly, a constant companion. Imagine the subdued murmurs of concern for the sick, the careful application of herbal remedies, the soft rustling of cloth bandages. Life was a delicate balance, easily tipped by forces beyond human control. Beyond the tangible challenges, the weight of uncertainty was a steady presence. Decisions were made with care, when to plant, when to harvest, when to prepare for the long, cold months. The texture of rough maps and worn tools guided choices shaped by experience and instinct. In this way, survival extended far beyond the moments of raid and retreat. It was embedded in every breath, every touch, every step taken across familiar but unpredictable ground. The rhythm of life was slow and deliberate, a constant negotiation with forces seen and unseen. As the day fades into twilight, the village settles once again into a quiet embrace. The steady heartbeat of survival continues, carried forward by those who endure, adapt, and dream of a tomorrow shaped by their hands. In the next chapter, we will turn our attention to the cultural world of the Vikings themselves, the customs and beliefs that shaped their understanding of life and death. Imagine yourself walking through a quiet village nestled among rolling hills and dense forests, where the air is cool and carries the subtle scent of pine and smoke from a distant hearth. The soft murmur of voices blends gently with the rustling of leaves, weaving a peaceful backdrop to a way of life shaped by deep traditions and shared stories. The Vikings lived within a world that was both familiar and profoundly connected to forces beyond themselves. Their customs were a steady thread in the fabric of daily existence, weaving meaning and order into the ebb and flow of life. Imagine the delicate texture of woven wool beneath your fingers, the soft glow of a fire casting flickering shadows on faces intent on listening. At the heart of their beliefs was a profound respect for nature's rhythms, the turning of seasons, the rising and setting of the sun, and the steady pulse of the sea. The long winters and fleeting summers shaped much of their existence, as they prepared with care for the cold months when the earth lay quiet beneath frost and snow. Imagine the quiet solemnity of a midsummer gathering, where families come together beneath a sky painted with soft twilight hues. The air is thick with the scent of wildflowers and fresh-cut grass, mingling with the faint smoke of a communal fire. Stories are shared tales of gods and heroes, of journeys beyond the horizon, of the delicate balance between fate and free will. Honor and courage were not mere words, but lived qualities, reflected in the way people conducted themselves and cared for their communities. The texture of a polished sword hilt, the steady tightening of leather straps on sturdy boots, these were marks of readiness and respect. Yet beneath the strength was a nuanced understanding of life's fragility and the inevitability of change. The Vikings also believed deeply in the afterlife, envisioning realms where the brave would find rest and glory. Imagine the soft sound of chanting, the rhythmic beating of drums echoing through a misty forest as rituals marked passage and remembrance. These ceremonies were a quiet assertion of continuity, linking the living with those who had passed beyond. Daily life was rich with simple pleasures and practical tasks, preparing food with care, tending animals, crafting tools and clothing. The soft scent of freshly baked bread, the gentle clinking of pottery, and the warm glow of hearth fires created a sense of comfort and belonging. These rhythms, both small and profound, anchored the community through the uncertainties of their world. As you walk slowly through this landscape, the texture of earth and wood beneath your feet, the cool breeze brushing against your skin, you sense the intricate balance that sustained the Viking world. It was a place of resilience and adaptation, where customs and beliefs provided a steady rhythm amid change. This understanding shaped their actions, their choices, and ultimately, the way they faced both peace and conflict. The next chapter will explore the skills and tools that made the Vikings formidable, and why these same factors would make surviving a raid so challenging for those caught unprepared. Imagine yourself beside a slowly glowing forge, the warm amber light casting gentle shadows on rough-hewn walls. The scent of heated metal mingles with the faint smoke of burning charcoal, rising softly to mingle with the cool air. Nearby, the rhythmic tapping of a hammer on anvil forms a steady, soothing pulse, each strike deliberate, shaping tools and weapons with practiced care. The Vikings were craftsmen of quiet mastery, their skills honed over years in close partnership with the land and sea. Every tool, every weapon carried the marks of patience and precision, created not in haste, but through a rhythm of repeated, careful motions. Imagine the texture of cool iron cooled in water, smooth and heavy in the hand, balanced perfectly for its purpose. Their longships, sleek and sturdy, were marvels of design crafted from timber gathered from deep forests. Imagine the scent of freshly cut wood, rich and resinous, the smooth curve of a hull shaped by skilled hands. These vessels moved with quiet grace, slicing through water with ease, enabling swift, and unexpected arrivals along distant shores. Weapons, too, were created with both function and familiarity in mind. The sharp edge of a sword, the balanced heft of an axe, the long reach of a spear, all tools refined through generations. Imagine the subtle weight of a spear resting lightly on your shoulder, the worn leather grip of a shield comforting in the hand. These were not merely instruments of war, but extensions of the body, crafted to respond fluidly to the needs of the moment. Beyond weapons, everyday tools reflected the same careful craftsmanship. The soft grain of a carved wooden bowl, the coarse texture of woven baskets, the sturdy cords braided from flax, all elements of a life deeply connected to skill and resourcefulness. The steady rhythm of spinning wool or weaving cloth added another layer to the tapestry of daily existence. These skills created a quiet power behind the raiders' swift movements, the ability to adapt, to move efficiently, and to wield tools with confidence. Imagine the steady breath of a warrior preparing for the day, the careful tightening of straps, the soft creak of leather armor settling into place. The rhythm of preparation itself became a grounding ritual. For those caught unprepared, this mastery could feel overwhelming. The precision and speed of the raiders, combined with their intimate knowledge of tools and terrain, left little room for hesitation. Survival depended not only on strength, but on understanding these rhythms, the flow of movement, the sound of footsteps, the subtle signs in the environment. As the forge's glow fades and evening shadows lengthen, consider how these skills shaped more than just battle. They shaped lives, communities, and the steady march of history. In the next chapter, we will reflect on the enduring legacy of the Viking raids, how their echoes still ripple through time. Imagine yourself now standing at the edge of a quiet shoreline as the sun dips low, painting the sky with soft hues of amber and rose. The gentle lap of waves against weathered stones forms a soothing rhythm, steady and unhurried, much like the passage of time itself. The air carries a faint saltiness, mingling with the scent of moss and seaweed, a reminder of worlds both ancient and enduring. The Viking Age, though distant, continues to ripple through history in subtle and profound ways. Their voyages and raids were moments that disrupted the quiet flow of everyday life, yet they also wove new threads into the vast tapestry of human experience. Imagine the worn pages of old manuscripts, the faded carvings on stone, and the quiet echoes of languages shaped by contact and exchange. The legacy of the Vikings is not solely one of conflict, but also of adaptation and cultural blending. Their ships opened pathways across oceans, connecting distant lands with quiet determination. Imagine the soft creak of timbers in the harbor, the faint scent of pitch and tar preserving vessels through harsh seasons. These journeys brought new ideas, new customs, and shaped the rhythm of trade and settlement far beyond their homelands. In villages once threatened by their raids, life slowly evolved, drawing from both fear and fascination. The steady hum of markets, the gentle clatter of crafted goods, and the muted conversations in emerging towns tell of communities adapting, learning, and growing stronger. The texture of fine cloth, the taste of new spices, the sound of unfamiliar instruments. These subtle changes speak of resilience and transformation. Even today, echoes of the Viking world linger in names, stories, and landscapes shaped by centuries of memory. Imagine walking along a quiet path bordered by ancient trees, the soft crunch of fallen leaves beneath your feet, and the faint murmur of history whispering through the breeze. The past and present intertwine here, creating a serene space for reflection. The Viking raids remind us of a time when survival was a constant negotiation, with forces both seen and unseen. The rhythm of their lives, marked by challenge, adaptation, and enduring spirit, invites us to contemplate our own place within the flow of history. The calm persistence of life, with all its disruptions and continuities, offers a gentle reassurance. As twilight deepens and the first stars begin to twinkle overhead, Imagine yourself settling into rest, carried softly by the slow, steady cadence of time. The story of the Vikings, with its many layers, fades gently into the quiet night, leaving behind a sense of peace and enduring connection. Thank you for joining me on this journey through a world both distant and familiar. May the rhythm of their lives and stories ease your mind and guide you gently toward restful sleep. As the night deepens around you, imagine the world settling into a slow, soothing rhythm, the soft rustle of leaves, the distant call of night birds, and the gentle whisper of a breeze weaving through the trees. History, like this quiet night, moves in its own steady flow, carrying stories across time with gentle persistence. Today, we have walked softly through the world of the Vikings, understanding not just their raids, but the lives shaped by both challenge and resilience. Imagine the steady heartbeat of those long ago, the texture of weathered wood, the scent of smoky fires, the quiet strength of hands working through hardship. Their stories remind us that survival is woven from many threads: bravery and care, loss and renewal, the unpredictable tides of fortune. The rhythm of history is neither sudden nor hurried. It unfolds slowly, gently, inviting us to listen, to remember, and to find peace in the knowledge that every life, every moment, contributes to the ongoing story of humanity. As you drift toward rest, may the steady cadence of these stories ease your mind, like a soft lullaby carried on the night air. Thank you for sharing this quiet journey. May your dreams be calm, your sleep deep, and your morning gentle. Good night.